Subject verb inversion. We have talked about subject auxiliary inversion, but let's look at this phenomenon. Let's look at this text. Blackstable was a fishing village. It consisted of a high street in which were the shops, the bank, the doctor's house, and the houses of 2 or 3 coal ship owners. Round the little harbour was shabby street in which lived fishermen and poor people. If you especially look at the second sentence, round the little harbour, apparently it seems the subject and were shabby street in which lived fishermen and poor people, the verb phrase, or in traditional sense the adverbial. But we know that a subject cannot begin with a prepositional phrase. Here we have a prepositional, a PP, prepositional phrase. So what is this swabbing or this inversion? Let's look at this. Let's look at the simplified last sentence. Round the little harbour were shabby streets. In what respect is 43 as the simplified version of the little sentence of the text? Let's compare both 43 and 44. The shabby street were round the little harbour. So actually the sentence was the shabby street. It is the subject of the sentence, and the noun phrase obviously, and were round the little harbour. It's a verb phrase. Were is the verb, a lexical verb be, and round the little harbour is adjunct complement, right? So this last sentence has the pattern noun phrase, which is a subject, verb, and a prepositional phrase, which is adjunct complement. So the PP round the little harbour has been fronted. This has been the phenomenon. What we have put the prepositional phrase and have fronted it, and the subject and the verb have changed their places. And the subject, the shabby street, have gone to the place of the adjunct complement after the verb, right? So 43 and 44 are both grammatically they are the same. There is not a difference of meaning in these two sentences, except that the style is changed. So they contain identical constituent, noun phrase and prepositional phrase. They've been changed, but they still remain noun phrase and prepositional phrase, and they have the same grammatical function. The round phrase has PP or adjunct complement function, and the shabby street has a noun or subject function. The distribution of these constituent is different. Only they are distributed in the inversion case a different division. So by reorganizing the sentence, the author achieves greater emphasis on the subject, a noun phrase. That is the purpose. So when the places are changed, now the stress is, we have talked about that the stress is always toward the final or the end of the sentence. So by changing the sentence, the shabby street, from the beginning of the sentence to the end of the sentence, we have changed the stress, since this is now in a sentence final position. So the rearrangement is a 2-step procedure. What we have done is the PP AC is fronted round the corner or round the street. The subject is moved to the right place. So step A, the fronting of the adverbial complement proceeds and triggers step B, the inversion of the street and the subject and the verb. Step B is called subject verb inversion. It is SVI, not SAI, which is subject auxiliary inversion. Let us now return to the sentence text. Round the little harbour were shabby street in which lived fishermen and poor people. Now we can see that we have in which lived, we have a longer post modifying clause with street. So what is the subject? Make sure that the bracket like this. The constituent order of is A adjunct complement, then we have were as a lexical verb, and we have subject, which is not in a basic pattern. Obviously, we have moved it from the initial or usual position. We also called it unusual subject. In teaching language, we call it that the subject is in its unusual order. So if you restore the sentence to the basic pattern, you will get the sentence subject, verb, adjective, adjunct complement, but with a heavy subject NP. NP is a very heavy subject. For example, shabby street in which lived poor people and fishermen, etc. So shabby street in which lived fishermen and poor people, it's a noun phrase, and it's a heavy noun phrase. If it comes at the beginning of the sentence, it remains out of focus as well. So we have verb phrase were around the little harbor. It's the prepositional phrase and adjunct complement too. By fronting the PP round the little harbor and moving the subject NP, shabby street in which lives fishermen and poor people afterward, the sentence is made much more balanced. Obviously, these aspects of writing are very important because they bring style. They are helpful in conveying meaning of the sentences as well. Let us now look at the post-modifying clause, in which lived, etc. The constituent order of the clause is as follows. We have sentence bar, prepositional phrase in which, and then we have sentence verb phrase lived, fisherman, and noun phrase fisherman and poor people. So this is the structure of the sentence. So is it a basic sentence? Obviously not, right? What arrangement do we think have been made? So of course one arrangement is due to WH movement, which have been moved from its place to the initial position, right, which is into complementizer. A secondary arrangement moves the subject NP fisherman and the poor people to the right, placing it after the verb lived, right? So this is SVI, subject verb inversion for short. SVI often greatly improve the style of the sentence. So it is very important by creating better balance between different constituent in the beginning and in the end of the sentence. The result is again that a prominent subject is moved into the focus position at the end of the sentence. Remember that focus position is very important for conveying meaning. It is often called stylistic inversion. Like it extraposition, the SVI shifts constituent from left to right. And an interesting difference between SVI and SAI is SVI changes the order of the subject and verb by moving subject rightwards, placing it after the verb in VP. Whereas SAI reorders subject and auxiliary by moving auxiliary to the initial position and moving subject after it. So this is the main difference. So this is subject verb inversion, in which the subject, if it is a longer one, it is moved to the rightwards position in a sentence for the purpose of focus.